Alright, what is up everybody? Welcome to a new video. Thank you so much for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. So today we're going to be going over the 4 steps that it takes to make a beat. I know that when I first started, I literally just added drums. I didn't even know how to add like an instrument or anything like that. So I'm going to be going through those steps with you guys today, and hopefully to help you guys out a little bit. Now I will be using my headphones because I don't want to blow you guys' ears out. Alright, so this is one of my favorite tracks I've ever produced. It's actually a little bit older too, which is why I'm surprised it's so well thought out, and it's pretty decently mixed for how new I was when I made it. I think I was only producing for like 3 months when I made this, 4 months. Alright, so step 1 is sound selection, and this is the part that even, like, I don't want to say like I'm the most experienced producer in the world, but sound selection is the main reason why I get beat block recently, is because I just can't figure out what I want for the melody of the instrument. Or the drums aren't as bad, but instruments are just, I just cannot. Like, I can get a decent melody going, but I just can't get the right feeling that I'm going for the sound of the instrument. So here I'll go through with you what I have. I was using something called I was using something called Addictive Keys before, but for some reason transferring files and stuff like that, I lost the rights to it, so I'm just using the normal old FL keys. Okay, so here's the FL keys. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everybody has this on their FL Studio. As a new producer, you probably don't see a problem with this piano, and honestly, neither really do I. But there are definitely better ones out there, but Keyscape is expensive. It's going around $400 right now. So I'm waiting to get that one for a while. And then I have this Serum one. It's also a little bit pricey, but you can get it for like $10 a month. It's not that hard to get. Alright, so this one kind of has like a kick side-chained to like a synth or something like that, which giving like the popping feeling right at the beginning, you hear it? But because it already has like a kick into it, I don't want to make it too present throughout the track. And then here I have Omnisphere. Yeah, and again, this is a very pricey plugin. Omnisphere is about $500, but literally if you don't need it. You want to try and become a better producer before you try to get better sounds. And honestly, here all I use it for, basically just a sound effect, right? It's not even a melody or anything like that. Another instance of Omnisphere. Again, just sound effects. It's not even like part of the melody or anything like that. This is the only thing that I actually use in Omnisphere to actually try to create a melody out of it, because it's really hard to find good guitar samples. The stock ones in FL are just no bueno. And this one just has exactly what I was looking for. I think it's layered with like a violin or something too. Listen. Yeah, totally. And then this is the kick. This is the snare. And hi-hats. Finally the bass. And as far as sound selection, that's pretty much it. So now we can move on to step 2. And step 2 is what I like to call the ingredients, you know? Basically just getting everything, like the main part of the beat. You know, your melodies, your drums, your bass lines, all that good stuff. So I'll let you guys see everything that I have. This is for the piano. Now, one thing I don't want you guys to do is to look at this, look at every single note that I have and try and copy it. That's one thing that I feel like I got stuck in a rut for a long time, was because I was just copying, I think it was Busyworks Beats. It's like one of his tutorials, and I just completely was stuck in a rut, and I just did not know what to do, because I just wasn't trying to build an ear for it. I was just trying to copy something. Alright, so here's the piano. And then here was I think it was like the whip. No, it was the synth. I tried really hard to put it on parts that already had the kick or a snare, that way you can really tell if the kick was inside of the synth. Okay, and then this was the whip. Oh, that's right, like the rattle. And this was the guitar that I had. Alright, and then I've got this sample right here, which is from the Post Malone Cymatics sample pack. And it's basically just going along with my melody for the guitar. Alright, kicks are pretty self-explanatory. Here's the snare. Hi-hats, nothing too crazy for these. And the bass line is basically just following the kick. And if you already can't tell, this is a very dramatic, emotional track. So one thing that's really good to put on is an impact. And then down over here we have the same snare that we had before, but I put some effects on it. It's just some reverb and stuff like that, but we'll go more over that in the mixing stage. Okay, so now that we have everything all done, let's go ahead and take a look at what everything is all together. Okay, step 3 is arrangement. So here when I was making this beat, I created everything into one pattern, and this was it. This is all that I had. But how do you turn this loop into a full track? And honestly, my favorite part of making a beat is creating an intro, because it's the most, for me at least, it's the most puzzle piece type of structure for the beat, because you really gotta try and not have too much there, but at the same time not have it be completely stagnant to where the listener's not hooked already. Alright, so the intro had a really good build-up. There's quite a few elements in there that are being introduced gradually, instead of just all hitting you at once. Sorry if that hurt your ears, that hurt my ears. But this entire arrangement is another part that I always get stuck with, because it's very hard to just have everything that you need, but to put it all laid out in a certain track, it's not the easiest thing to do in the world. Because like I said, this whole thing is just one big puzzle piece, or this whole thing is one big puzzle, and each thing is a piece. Each sound, instrument, drum, anything. Alright, and now step 4. Step 4 is what I call post-production. Step 4 consists of, for me at least, 3 subcategories. One is revisiting and replacing sounds that you already have in the track. If there's something's not hitting right, like if the snare is too weak or the kick is clashing with the 808 and you want to go pick a different one, that's time to go do it, because you don't really want to be too picky about it at the beginning, because you want to get out your ideas first, your melodies, your chord progressions, your drums, your bass lines, all that stuff you want to get done first, and then once you have all that ready, that's when you can go ahead and go back later on and change the sounds that you want. Like this kick sounds, I don't know, maybe too computer to me, like too computerized. Then I can go on over to somewhere over here, and like that one knocks more, so maybe I want that one. So you just click it and drag it over here. I don't want to, only because I've already done this entire process and I don't want to do it again. But it would be that simple, and all of your patterns would stay the same. It would not change at all. So the next subcategory in stage 4 is going to be mixing. And that is going to be about as important as the actual ingredients itself, the actual beat itself. Because if things are clashing together and you're not EQing everything, then it's going to be, things are going to start melding together and sounding muddy, or things going to be peaking. So this is where you're going to be doing all of your leveling in the mixer, to where there's going to be like your panning, your volume right here, and inside of these, so here's where my kick is. Alright, so if I think that my kick and my 808 are clashing, and I'm not going to be going over every little detail of mixing, it would be impossible, and this video would be hours and hours long. But just as a reference, so if I can go and click on my kick right here, and then right click on that little arrow, and hit sidechain, and then go over to the limiter, and then I already have a preset made that I made myself. It's just my sidechaining my kick to my 808. And I'm not going to go over fully what compression does and everything like that, but let's go ahead and give it a listen to see what it did. If you look at the volume, whenever my kick hits, my 808 lowers in volume. Let's go and turn off the limiter and see how it sounds. Now this kick and 808 combo doesn't really have too much of a problem, but if you find that your kick and your 808 are melding together, that might be something you might need to do. And then for your instruments, if things aren't sounding good, let's go ahead and just solo them. Okay, found something. Let's just listen to these two guitars right here. It's not too noticeable, but they are kind of bleeding in together. So what we can do is go into each one, and this way you can add all your EQs. EQing is one of the most important parts about mixing. If you can see, this is being used up a lot. The most prominent sounds are where the brightest parts are, and these are still being used even though we can't really hear them, so that might be clashing with our 808s or the other guitar. So let's go and do a high pass. And the most important thing when mixing is to not completely cut out frequencies. So like even here, you can see there's going to be a little line right here to where it's a main part of the guitar. If I got rid of it, it would just sound like there's a filter on it. So we are lowering it, how many frequencies are going through it, because of it's this much right here is not being used, right? Compared to everything else. But it's still getting in a little bit, so it's still present while not bleeding into anything else. And then I would always solo it as well, just to make sure it sounds okay on its own. Like I might even boost the high end a little bit. Not that much though. Alright. Now that that's done, we can go on over to this guitar. Same thing. Now this one has a little bit more of a bassy tone to it. So I still want to do a high pass, but not by much. And then here's a low pass, so now we can just go and bring it a little bit further down. But again, this is not a mixing tutorial, this is just the 4 steps that I use when I make every single beat. And now hopefully these two things will be a little bit more indistinguishable from each other. And I really think that they are. Okay, so once you have all of your mixing done, and again, don't worry about if it's not that great right now, the best thing you can do, and honestly the only thing you can do is really practice. There's not going to be a tutorial on why your particular instrument's is clashing with another instrument. There's not going to be any tutorial for that. Alright, and the third subcategory of stage 4 is going to be mastering. Mastering is basically mixing on the master track. From when I first heard it, I thought it was a completely, you had to send it to somebody, they would have their own hardware that they would do. And yes, there are mastering engineers that you can send it to, and they do have that hardware and those analog stuff. But us producers, when we're making a beat every single day and we want it to sound the best possible way, putting it out there, we don't want to pay somebody, $50 every single day. So we've got to kind of figure that out on our own. So one way that I do it is I usually find the loudest part of the song. And then you look at your master volume. So we actually already have some pretty good headroom to use. If your master volume was at like 3 dB, then I would put on a limiter. Never start your track with the limiter, but you can always use it at the end. In mastering, the whole point is making it commercially loud and just more pleasing. So the main thing that you're going to be using, you're going to be lowering and raising frequencies in a different plugin. So here, if you're already at like 0 dB, you're not going to be able to do much, or even 3 dB. So if you were at there, you would just go into the limiter. I usually put it into compression mode. I'm not really even sure if that does anything for what this purpose does. And then just by, there we go. Just by lowering the gain, you can hear it getting louder, and then you can even see it in the bottom corner. Like right now we're only at 21 dB, which is gonna be way too quiet. But I'm gonna delete this because I already have some pretty good headroom. And then I'll go into EQ, and you're just doing very minor changes here. You're just gonna be raising each knob, and then just finding a good sweet spot that you want, and then seeing if it sounds better higher or lower. Like if you want to cut or if you want to boost. Alright, so by boosting, I'm going to be adding a little bit of clarity. So that's what we want. When you're doing this, you are essentially cutting the frequencies, so you're essentially lowering the volume and raising the volume. Boosting is raising the volume, cutting is lowering the volume, so just because it's louder does not mean that it's going to sound better. So try to get that out of your head that everything should be boosted, because it's going to sound completely distorted and just overall not good. I actually don't have too much problems with the overall EQ. And then we're gonna go over to Maximus. I think you get this from the $200 edition from FL Studio. I don't think you get it from the original, like the $100 one. But it is one of my favorite plugins that I've used in here, like stock plugins, like that and the Pretty Parametric EQ2. I use it every single beat, without a doubt. Okay, and then here, you're going to be listening to things that you want to boost, and we have a lot of headroom to work with, so we can definitely boost a lot here. And this one is your low end, your mid, and your high end. So just listen to it and see what you want to try and boost. See, here's the dramatic point, where you can really hear the 808. Too much, though. And again, it's very minor. You don't want to be throwing these all the way up because it's not going to really do anything for you. It's going to sound really distorted. All right, and I don't want to go over everything that's already in here because I can go over the compression right here. Just moving this knob will do a certain thing. But the main thing that I wanted to show were the bands. And this is going to be a little bit harder to hear for you guys because you probably don't know what you're listening for. But try to listen. This knob is the stereo and mono. So this going to the side is going to be merged. This side is going to be soloed. So if your mid is not really present and there's not a whole lot of clarity behind it, you could solo it so there's a lot less low end in that frequency range. Alright, and a lot less high end as well. So that's one thing you got to be careful of. But as I turn this knob, try to hear the differences in frequencies like that. I'm going to start with the low end. I like that better because it was able to have the 808 stand out more. I felt like it was a little bit muddy before. Now I'll go for the mid end. The mid. Alright, so already I'm feeling like I got a lot more clarity in the instrument just by separating the mid end. And I think that the high end is a little bit too jarring, so I think I'm going to separate that a little bit more, or merge it more. Perfect. Alright, that is going to be just about it. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I can do a lot more stuff like this later on. I know that EQ is a very scary word. Same with mastering. My mastering's not too much different than what I did here today, but my mixing, I can definitely go into more effects and some more EQ tutorials, stuff like that. But I hope you guys did get something from this. I know that when I first started, this was I didn't know what to do. Everything was just all done in the channel rack, so I hope that really helped you guys out. Let me know if you guys want to see anything in the future in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.